The song you're listening to now is from a band called Kino, whose frontman and main creative force, Viktor Tsoi, is a legend in his home country, but relatively unknown in the rest of the world today. You'd be forgiven if you assumed he's a K-pop star or a member of a Japanese new wave band. But once the lyrics drop in Viktor's typical laconic delivery, it's easy to hear that he's from Russia. A keen observer of the mundane, Viktor found poetry in the everyday, expressing what the disaffected youth of the country perhaps felt but dared not speak. As a result, he became an icon for a generation who rallied around his message of quiet rebellion and change. His life began with an artistic wild streak, painting and selling portraits of Western rock stars to sell on the black market of Leningrad. Despite finding success as a musician, Viktor never stopped painting and was fascinated with the world of cinema, taking the name for his band from the brightly lit marquee of his local movie theater. He was the son of a Russian physical education teacher and a Soviet Korean engineer, and due to his unusual mixed-race heritage, he found himself an outsider in a country of alienated youth. Kicked out of art school at 15, he worked a number of odd jobs and started writing music a couple of years later. He and 3 other bandmates formed the band Kino in 1982, and over an 8-year run wrote and recorded over 90 songs on 7 albums. His song Elektrichka, about a man stuck on a train going the wrong direction, expressed his feelings towards life in the Soviet Union, earning a ban by the authorities. He also chafed against the privileges and expectations of fame, preferring fishing and practicing karate to the hard-partying lifestyle of many contemporaries. Speaking of his one and only trip to the United States, he reflected, "Nobody knows who I am there. I can walk around on the streets undisturbed." In the 1987 crime film Asa, Viktor and the rest of Kino performed their song Hochu Peremen, or I Want Change, in a surreal ending credits sequence. This appearance swept the nation and catapulted Viktor and his band reluctantly to stardom. The song became the anthem of various protest movements. During a 2012 interview, Mikhail Gorbachev erroneously described the role of this song on a high-level government meeting in 1985, quoting the lyrics as justification for perestroika. Uncomfortable with fame, Viktor and the rest of Kino left Russia and toured parts of Europe in 1989, re-recording a number of their songs in France for a European debut, finding it a necessary but frustrating trip. In an interview, Viktor reflected on his trip. Russia's a popular theme in France right now, but we're like Matryoshka dolls to them. Hey look, Russians can play guitars almost like we do. I can't say it was a huge success because people were expecting something Russian and exotic, and we delivered rock music. If you want to go abroad, it's best to go as a tourist. Dressing almost exclusively in black, his influences ranged widely, from the Smiths to Bruce Lee. And while the band's lineup fluctuated over the years, Viktor's consistent creative output sustained the band, and he came into his own as a bona fide icon, until his unexpected death in 1990 in a car wreck at the age of 28. Driving home from a fishing trip, he drifted into oncoming traffic and collided head-on with a bus, a collision so violent that the rubber tires of his Moscovich 2141 Aleko were never found. At the height of his fame, Kino had just played a concert for 62,000 people in Moscow earlier that year, an experience that left him with this to say. For the most part, it doesn't really matter to me where I'm playing. My apartment, an underground club, a concert hall with 10,000 people. Either way, I'm doing what I love. Despite dying far before his time, he lives on through his music and in the hearts and minds of those who witnessed his work. On December 31st, 1999, a Russian radio station asked listeners to vote for the top 100 songs of the 20th century. 10 out of 100 were by Tsoi, with the number one spot going to his song Grupa Krovi, the song you heard at the beginning, off the album of the same name. His legacy is so strong and message of change so dangerous that in 2014, a prominent Russian politician claimed that his lyrics were written by the CIA in order to destabilize the motherland. Today, tourists can visit the Tsoi Wall in Moscow, and the basement boiler room he worked in before reaching stardom, which he ironically called Kamchatka, now a museum and rock club. Unfortunately, he died never having seen the change he so desperately called for, and which he basically had no reason to ever expect. But much to everyone's surprise, only the next year, the USSR fell and the world changed once again. Considering the world today, this is an important lesson for anyone touched by cynicism, but still hoping for something more. Viktor Tsoi's life, work, and legacy are an evergreen message that the youth of Russia, and indeed, the entire world, perhaps need to hear again today.
Что-то изменилось, наконец-то. Я не знаю, что это за перемены, но это что-то изменилось, хоть немножко.